Hi, my name is Justin. This is Nooks Cooks. Today I'm going to be cooking kare kare. So let's start. Kare kare is a peanut-based oxtail stew, and it's in my top 3 Filipino dishes of all time. I only get to eat it a few times a year, so I'm very excited anytime I get to cook it or eat it. So one of the reasons I don't get to eat this often is because I usually only like to eat it in the summertime when the vegetables are at their peak and preferably from my garden. And 2, oxtail. Let's talk about oxtail. It is getting expensive. Oxtail used to be this throwaway cut of meat and people caught on that it's super good. It has a high gelatin, collagen, and fat percentage relative to the amount of meat. And when it's cooked low and slow, braised, it is a delicious cut of meat. I like to pressure cook it just to save myself some time. Either way, it is a delicious cut of gentrified meat. Kare kare is usually served at fiestas or parties. And when I looked up in Wikipedia, there were 4 potential origins of kare kare. One being Pampanga, my family's home province, that's unofficially known as the culinary capital. I don't know where it came from. I mean, we make good food, so if you're familiar, you be the judge. 2, there was the galleon trade from Mexico, specifically from Acapulco. I believe maybe peanuts came through that way because this is a peanut-based stew. 3, there was the Moros. It's a Muslim majority Austronesian group of people that came to the Philippines prior to the Spanish. And 4 is my favorite because I just think the name, like how it came to be, is funny. So the British occupied Manila for a little bit, and there were people from India who were with the British, and they wanted to make something that was reminiscent of curry in India. So they used ingredients in the Philippines, and they came up with the name kare kare, or the Filipinos came up with the name kare kare. I love the inventive spelling, and I just think it's funny. So this is one of my favorite dishes, and I can't wait to share this with you all. Here are all the ingredients for my version of kare kare, starting with 2 of the most important. Here are the oxtail. If you look closely, I tried to pick a package that had pieces of oxtail that had a high ratio of meat to bone. Inevitably, you might find some smaller pieces that have very little meat relative to the bone. So try to reduce those because what you really want is the meat. And another type of protein you might find in kare kare is tripe. I don't like tripe. You can include it, but I don't, and that's not included here. And then number 2, I mentioned this is a peanut-based stew. So this is peanut butter. And you might say, peanut butter, you said peanut. Well, this dish has evolved over the years, and you could still take raw and roasted peanuts, ground them up, and use like ground rice as a thickening agent, but I just do not have the time for that, and this is my family's favorite version of peanut butter to use in kare kare. Different families may have their own type that they like, and Skippy is my favorite. In the end, there's a little hint of that Skippy peanut butter flavor, but ultimately you have this really rich peanut-based stew. And then we have yellow onion, garlic, baby bok choy, water, and this is annatto powder. This is mostly used for coloring, so it's not 100% necessary, but I think it gives the kare kare a nicer color. It's also known as ashuete. I think I forgot a couple of ingredients, so give me 1 sec. Look at this. Check it out. Just got back from the garden and I got the last ingredients. We have Asian eggplant, also known as talong in Tagalog or balacenas in Kapampangan. And then we have the long bean. This has many names. The long bean, the yard long bean, Chinese long bean. In Tagalog, it's called sitaw. In Kapampangan, it's called kamanyang. And these specifically are the reason why I like to cook this during the summer. Because when you buy these from the store, they can tend to be old and like rock hard, and you have to cook them for a long time. And even then, the chew on them is just too hard. And when these come straight from the garden, they're fresh. They just have a much better texture. I forgot one last ingredient. It's not an ingredient per se, it's something you eat on the side with kare kare. This is bagoong in Tagalog, or bagok in Kapampangan. It's a fermented shrimp paste. You eat it on the side with kare kare. Kare kare is very rich, and to cut through all that richness, we have this fermented shrimp paste. It's very salty, but you just have a little bit when you eat it, and it helps cut through all that richness. Start by dicing an onion. I diced half of the onion and reserved the other half, plus another whole onion that was cut in half to pressure cook with the oxtail. Now place the oxtails at the bottom of the InstantPot pot. And generously season them with kosher salt. Add in the halved onions and add water up to the max fill line. Turn on the saute setting on the Instant Pot, and as the pot heats up, skim off the impurities. Cover the Instant Pot and pressure cook at high pressure on the meat and stew setting for 40 minutes. If you don't have a pressure cooker like this, you can simmer the meat for 2 to 3 hours or until the meat is tender. While the oxtail is pressure cooking, mince garlic, cut off the ends of the long beans and cut down to 1 to 1.5 inch long pieces. For the bok choy, I cut off the bottom stalk, and then I separate the leafy part from the remaining stalk. This is completely optional. The leafy green and the bottom stalk cook at different speeds, and I find that I get a little bit more control and texture when I do it this way. Now cut the eggplant into 1/4 inch thick slices at an angle. Bring a pot of water to a boil and add in the long beans. It takes about 10 minutes to cook all the way through. You can easily bite through them when they're ready. I use these baskets to keep them a little bit more organized when cooking, something I wanted to try out. Now to cook the bok choy. Because these are leafy greens, they're super thin, and it only takes about 30 seconds for them to cook through. Now to cook the stalk of the bok choy. This takes about 60 seconds to 90 seconds. That's why I cook them separately. Once they're cooked, they'll be soft but with a little bit of bite left. Last but not least, cook the sliced eggplants. We'll put them in some neutral oil, salt them a little bit, and then we'll cook them until they're evenly brown on both sides. Here are all the vegetables after they're cooked. You can mix it in with the rest of the kare kare, but I like to keep it separate. I find that the vegetables mixed in get lost in the sauce and muddled, and these are really high quality vegetables, and you really get to taste the freshness of them when they're separate and you build it all together after the fact. Once the oxtail is done pressure cooking, you remove the cover and remove all the onions. Now with a ladle, I carefully remove the layer of oil and fat at the top. all the oil and fat rendered out of the oxtail, and it's just a little bit too much. You could also pressure cook this the day before, put it in the refrigerator and let the fat harden up, and you can remove it then. Now look at the oxtail, it is so tender. This is exactly how you want it to be. Using a slotted spoon, remove the oxtail and place it into a separate bowl. This step is optional. I like the cleanest broth that I can, so I like to use a strainer and strain out all the extra pieces of fat and onion or whatever else is floating around in the broth. Now to add in the peanut butter. I added about 8 to 10 cups or 1.5 of these 48-ounce containers of peanut butter. There's a lot of broth, so it seems like a lot, but you're gonna have to add a lot to this. Then I use a whisk to break down the peanut butter and mix it all into the broth. You could use an immersion blender or a stick blender, but I like to use the whisk so I can really feel that everything's mixed in. Once you've reached your desired thickness of the broth, it's time to add some annatto powder for some color. This is optional, but I think it just looks a lot nicer once it's added in. In a large pot or pan, sweat the diced onions in neutral oil. Add in the minced garlic and cook until fragrant. Once the garlic is cooked, add in all the broth. And add in the cooked oxtail. Oh man, this barely fit in here. I mix it around a little bit and let it simmer at medium heat for about 10 to 15 minutes, and it was time to assemble, and you're done. The karekare is done and it's time to eat. I haven't had this in a while. The last time I had this I think was November, which was not like garden time or veggie garden time, but we had some family in town and they wanted it, so I cooked it for them. First, let's get it all set up so we have like the soupy part. This is called the sabol. Just gonna put it all over the rice. Right here. Yeah, look at how nice and thick that is. So I'm just gonna put it on the part that I'm gonna eat for now so that the rice doesn't get too soaked up. And I think I will mention it during the video, but I like to keep the vegetables separate from all of the soup because I like to be able to taste the vegetables like in their like true fresh flavor instead of being all mixed in with the sauce, which the sauce is delicious, but it's so rich that it kind of crowds out the flavor of the vegetables. So let's get some of the sitaw or the long beans right here. And then got a couple of slices. Oh, this beautiful plate that I put together is coming apart. Okay. Some eggplants, and let's get some bok choy. Let's try it first without the fish paste, the bagoong, or my family calls it bogok, just so we can see what it tastes like just on its own. Yeah, the meat is just falling apart, which is beautiful for this type of meat, because if you don't cook oxtail right, it is super tough. But once it gets cooked down and just falling apart by the strands, it is a delicious cut of meat. Okay. All right, this is a big bite. Magandang, let's eat. So good. So many different flavors. I think you might notice that when I was cooking this, there wasn't much like salting or much seasoning, because in the end, at least I like to adjust like the saltiness with the shrimp paste. So let's put another bite together, because it's pretty well balanced already. I mean, there's so many different flavors. I mean, the creaminess of the peanut butter, the savoriness and saltiness of the pork, and then you have the freshness of all the vegetables all in one bite. The long beans have a nice bite to them. The eggplants have a nice soft texture, and then you have the leafy green and the bok choy. And then let's put some shrimp paste like right on top. Right there. Okay. Have another bite. Let's eat. This dish is meant for the fish paste, for the shrimp paste. You know, I actually didn't really eat this growing up. I used to really just enjoy, I mean, I didn't eat the shrimp paste or the bagoong growing up. I really just used to enjoy like all the, like the peanut sauce. But now as I've grown older, I've grown an appreciation for the shrimp paste. Now I can't eat it without it. I think the saltiness, it is like, shrimp paste is like an umami bomb. There's nothing fishy about it. Usually, I think what happens is they take these little shrimp, they add salt, and they let them sit under the sun, and then they're kind of mashed up into a paste and fermented. I said this wasn't my top 3. This might be my top 2. But I have a couple more things coming down in the pipeline that are very much towards the top of my favorites. And everything here is my favorite because I wouldn't do this if I didn't like it. All these vegetables are great. I mean, I remember the last time I ate this back in November. We bought the sitaw from the grocery store, and it's much better from the garden. It's completely different. The texture is different. They're hard. Even when you cook them down till like they're soft, like they're just, the texture, it's just not the same. They don't bite well. And the eggplants are not the same. They're probably held in cold storage for a long time. That's probably also why the beans are that tough texture. They're probably held in a refrigerator for a long periods of time because they're either grown far away and brought in, so they have to be preserved in the cold, or they're just not grown at the right time and they don't grow well. So these ones are fresh from the garden, never went in the refrigerator. The eggplants have never been in the refrigerator. They were directly right outside from my garden. I can see right now through the window. Walk them in here, cut them up, and cook them. This is so good. Yummin'. Thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you for taking some time out of your day to watch this. And I'm having so much fun sharing these dishes that are special to me and my family with everybody out there. I am smelling this. It is still down here and I cannot wait to eat the rest of it. Leave a comment down below what your favorite 3 dishes are of all time, regardless of cuisine. And remember to like and subscribe. Peace!